This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where every week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry and discuss what's going on in our business. Plus, we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week, we'll be talking to Joey Gabra of New Media Services. First of all, today, let's cover some of the news going on in our industry. Content creator Sophie Latter noticed that different content platforms had different notions of what they considered restricted content. So Latter, who's also a photographer, a DOM, and a web developer, decided to compile the variations in the form of a shareable spreadsheet. Today, her spreadsheet of restrictions to adult content, mapping the corporate self-censorship imposed on content creators, has grown to 21 adult selling sites and 16 categories. You can see the spreadsheet on Sophie's Twitter page. The U.S. Copyright Office has released a lengthy report on the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, calling for Congress to modify certain aspects of the safe harbor doctrine that protects tube sites, both for mainstream and adult content, from copyright liability. According to its introductory letter, the publication of this report is the final output of several years of effort by the Copyright Office to assist Congress with evaluating ways to update the Copyright Act for the 21st century. Although the report did not recommend sweeping changes to the DMCA, it reached the conclusion that the act had been tilted since its inception, with the end result that tech companies and platforms were more protected than copyright owners. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We've just reduced the price on a network of 2 foot fetish pay sites. The first site is an all-tickling fetish site with every category of tickling. The primary focus is female on female tickling. The second site has forced orgasms as well as hand jobs, all with a fetish twist featuring showing of feet in the videos. The hand jobs are more taboo, female domination themed. There are also a number of highly profitable clips for sale stores as well, featuring the content. The most profitable of those stores features foot worship. Some of the stores are top 50 in the world in clips for sale, and one has been as high as number 4 in the world. Since the owner has never built out a foot worship site, but has plenty of content for one, this is a wonderful opportunity for a new owner. Also, the owner has never advertised a site or started an affiliate program. A new owner could do both and instantly boost sales. The company has over 11,000 videos in their content library, all exclusive. Also, since the owner has been out of the day-to-day operations of the company for some time, a new owner will have the opportunity to keep on the current people who are operating the network, so there will be no interruption in a new owner's ability to get content. Now, time for this week's interview. Today, I am delighted to have as my guest on Adult Site Broker Talk, Joey Gabra, Solutions Director at New Media Services. Joey's the kind of guy in this industry who either knows everyone or everyone knows him. Don't you agree with that, Joey?
That's very nice of you to say, but yeah, I'd say at this point in my career, I mean,
no doubt.
There's the web has been weaved quite long.
No kidding. So he's been in the adult space as long as I can remember. He's one of the true icons in the space. Joey has always been a joy to be around and is a great partner for many of us in the adult industry. Now, New Media Services is quite a company. Here's a bit about them from their website. At New Media Services, they focus on a commitment to teamwork between staff and customers to ensure the growth and success of everyone involved. Their tailor-made outsourcing services provide growing businesses with the support and expertise that increases their efficiency and improves their bottom line. In 2007, Martin Eiking established the company with only 5 employees, handling basic consumer messaging. Over the years, NMS has gained in-depth knowledge across a wide variety of outsourcing services to ensure their customers are totally taken care of. From 5 staff at Starbucks to over 1,500 staff today, they have not stopped growing. Now, today, the services they provide continue to empower businesses around the world to perform at their absolute best and grow alongside NMS. Their services include live chat, multilingual customer support, video production, content services, virtual employees, website and app design and development, social media, moderation services, IT systems, and admin tools and bulk SMS services. Whew. Did I leave anything out, Joey?
That is a mouthful. I mean, you know what? I think you got it mostly covered. Yeah.
That's many mouths full. Now, I know you guys recently moved into a new state-of-the-art facility in the Philippines. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. So this is, our founder, Martin, had really, this about 10 years ago, they were growing pretty rapidly, and we went from kind of one building to the next just to kind of keep up with the amount of people that we were onboarding. And around that time, he's got his head in the clouds constantly. And there was a conversation we were having at dinner about where do you see the company 10 years from now?
Now, you weren't even back with the company then, were you, Joey?
No, I wasn't with the company. I'd known Martin for some time, and we'll touch on it later.
But you worked with them early on, though, didn't you?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So I had been, a part of the NMS family, so to speak, for we're going on more than 10 years now. In a number of projects, and I helped grow a lot of the inner workings of the business and develop things for them a bit. While I only became an official member of the team about 4 years ago.
Okay. Finish your story.
But Martin
Sorry.
and I go way back. Anyways, yeah. So we go back a ways, and I'd been out to the Philippines to help out with things. So this was one of our projects that we're working on, and he has that conversation, asking people around the table, where do you see this company in 10 years? And at the time, I believe we had just kind of hit the 50-person mark, and we had a few executives that we always spent our time together working on things. So he had almost to a T described this building 10 years ago. I imagine us here and, blah, 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 blah. It kind of breaks it down to this dream building, this facility that he thinks is going to be, the coolest thing. And he describes it state of the art, future proof, the whole nine. And it's shocking. And so here we are today. The project starts about 2.5 years ago. We, put the shovels to the ground. And now the building's up and running, and we've got our staff in there, and it's just sort of what you would imagine, this new millennium of, the tech buildings, right? So, like the Google buildings, everything's touchscreen, everything's sensors. There's no buttons in the entire building.
I saw that. I saw the videos. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a neat place, and everything, from the coffee machines to there's a restaurant, a cafe in there for everybody, and there's facial recognition. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it's kind of, and for the Philippines, it's a huge deal. I'd say in most sort of, for lack of a better term, more first worldy type of countries, this may not be as big of a deal, but it's still, it's quite nice. But we see this quite often in the area in the Philippines where we are. There's nothing like it, so it's this amazing sort of thing. And the big thing about that was that Martin also wanted to create a place for people to want to come to work. He wanted this to be a desirable location. We're always looking for really great talent, and we want to make sure we can provide for them in every way possible. And so that was a big deal for him, to make sure that we had a place there that they really looked forward to spending all their time. And so mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of competition these days in the Philippines for good talent, I would think.
Big time. Yeah, and that was also part of why we chose the location. We're in a place called Baguio City, about 5 hours outside of Manila, where it's still competitive, but it is less competitive, and it's a big university town, so we're able to get a lot of fresh talent out of the schools who are hungry to work and that kind of thing. So it's really nice.
Nice. Okay, let's talk about you, not the businessman, but the other guy. Now, I know you have a variety of interests outside of adult. You are an accomplished musician. You're a photographer. You're more than a bit of a tech geek. So tell me more.
Yeah, so music. I'm going on now 30 years, having been playing. Been a total music nerd, music junkie for a long time, and yeah, I did have for the better part of my 20s. I had a good run with some albums and some tours, and then life happens, marriage, kids, the whole thing, and that all has to slow down. So as I was starting to find my place in the world in terms of my career, what my forever work was going to be, my wife and I moved around. We lived in London. We lived in some parts of the States, and we finally kind of found our footing, especially once we got pregnant and it was time to settle down and figure stuff out. So in California, where we're born and raised, we had 3 kids, and life was moving pretty quickly. The career has been going unbelievably well, thank goodness. And the next thing I realized is I've got, a phone full of memories and videos and pictures, and they're just kind of, how everybody's phones can be. You take pictures, you never look back at them ever again. And so I decided maybe I'll invest in a really nice camera, and it'll just force me to be more, organized with the photos, and just to kind of keep up with stuff and actually make photo albums, and just to care more about the pictures I'm taking. Sure. And that kind of spiraled. For those who know me, know that when I buy something and it seems kind of cool, then I dive real deep into it. And so I bought a camera just to take a few nice pictures of my kids, and here I am $50,000 later with every possible gorgeous lens you could think of.
Like I said, tech geek.
Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't. I mean, so yeah, right now, as it stands, I got real into it. I got the lighting, I got the lenses, and one thing led to another, and people, because I did start caring about the pictures I was taking, and I kept it real organized. I shared a lot. I kept photo albums that we would leave out on the table, and people really liked what I was doing with the pictures. And I did too. I actually really found that photography was something that allowed me to be creative, which I needed because I wasn't playing that much music anymore. And that creativity I could take with me everywhere. I could always bring my camera somewhere, especially with what we do, Bruce, in the digital media world, traveling like crazy.
Correct.
I was able to bring a couple of lenses and a camera with me everywhere and take pictures and feel like I was, getting a little bit of that sort of creative outlet that I needed. And oddly enough, people back in LA even wanted to pay me to do it, which was shocking. So I got a few clients. I started doing some paid shoots, and that turned into a thing. And then not long after, just 3 years ago, we moved to San Antonio. We decided it was time to.
God, has it been 3 years now?
It's been 3 years, almost exactly. Next month will be 3 years. Yeah.
My God, time flies.
As it does, and that we can get into that in a minute. But we left LA mainly because we started. Our family's young, and it's just not the place to raise a young family and make sure that all 3 of our kids were going to turn out decent people. So I have my opinions of LA that I'm sure some people will argue. But anyways, we felt it was time to go, so we came to San Antonio, and that's where it all really, in terms of the photography side of things, when I wasn't doing my full-time gig with NMS. I was getting a lot of work out here. I did a couple of family shoots, and it's a nice community out here in San Antonio where they did all the work for me. They spread the word. Sure. I'd say as of today, it's a real second business for me. I'm working almost all the time when I'm not doing NMS things. And circle back to the music thing. Now that my kids are a little older and they're in school and life's gotten a little bit more easier to manage, I'm in a band again. I'm playing music, and
nice.
We're working every weekend, and so in terms of the creative side, photography and music is now playing a much bigger role in my life here in my early 40s, where it wasn't looking that way. Even 5 years ago, it was looking like there wouldn't be much of that creative outlet that I needed happening because I didn't know what things were going to look like once the kids came into the picture. But it's been nice. San Antonio has been good to me. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm working when I can with the music and the photography, and then juggling the kids, which has been a blast, especially out here in Texas. There's a lot. a lot of fun stuff to do out here that you don't really get in the big city,
Sure.
like in Los Angeles. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I mean, in the fast version of it, at least.
I hear great things about San Antonio. That's one place in Texas I haven't been, but I do want to go because I hear nothing but good things about it.
I'll tell you what. The neat thing is, and because a lot of guys in our business, when we're sort of the opposite of whatever Texas is, right? So I got here, knowing that I'm not a Republican, I'm not a religious guy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I don't own a gun, I don't own a hat, a belt buckle, or boots, and I never will. And it's all these things, and those are like the first, 5 questions you get asked. Oh, you just moved here? Oh, cool. What church do you go to? What who do you vote for? Where's your belt buckle? Where's your hat?
Oh, jeez.
Do you own a gun? That kind of shit. And yeah, and that's a legitimate thing, when they meet the new guy. Those are things. But anyways, San Antonio was really nice. We got here, and I those were minor concerns of mine. I knew it wasn't going to be a big issue, that we weren't sort of the typical Texan at all. But it was a thing that had nagged at me. And I got here, and the people here are so unbelievably lovely. Knowing what they know, all my neighbors and the people we've met that were not your typical Texan, we still got the warm hug. Our neighbors came and brought us cakes and whiskey and welcome gifts, which never happens where I lived in LA. You don't bring people gifts, welcome to the neighborhood type of thing.
No.
Everybody did it, and everybody's been so lovely. And we've seen a bit of Texas now, and it's just becoming. I think there was a time when Texas was really what people, textbook Texas, Republican, religious, hardcore, and it's not like that anymore.
Well, you got a lot of Californians out there now.
Well, that's a big one. Everybody's kind of jumping ship and coming to places like Texas and Tennessee now because, for all the right reasons. So yeah, that's true. There's a huge mix of transplants here now that kind of maybe help balance the scales a bit.
Yeah. So we heard about Joey the person. Let's talk about Joey the businessman. Talk a little bit about your background, what you're up to now, which you capsuled some of that, but I know you've had many lives in our industry. So talk a bit about it.
Yeah. So I think it goes back a lot further than I think people realize, but I started back, nearly 20 years ago, where the internet was coming to a place where Google AdWords was a big thing, like a huge thing. I mean, it just came out, and so we were learning what SEO was. We were learning about Google AdWords, and I joined on with a company called Telic Media at the time. They're not around anymore, but that was what they did. They focused on Google AdWords strategies, and at the time, they were the big boys. So I had learned a lot of what online marketing was from there. And then around 2006, this crazy thing happened. June 2006, some maniac said, "I'm going to create a touchscreen phone, and we're going to call it an iPhone." And
God love him,
right? And things exploded. There was really nobody in the tech world that had experience with advertising on a handheld device that was going to be our new means for surfing and taking in content. And so some of these big companies who kind of had sort of the foresight to say, okay, well, we need to start planning ahead somehow. They were looking for online marketers like myself, people I had no mobile experience whatsoever in terms of these types of devices, but I had online marketing experience. Nobody, yeah. So we were learning. 2006, I joined up with a company that we know quite well today in our industry called Twistbox.
Right.
And that was sort of where I got my start in all of this sort of what we refer to as adult or high-risk digital media space, where Twistbox was really focusing on creating mobile product So any sort of online adult content that you could consume from a mobile device, but also focused on how best to monetize it, because at the time, submitting a credit card to your cell phone was not only torturous because it's this tiny little screen and it's asking you for so much info, but it still didn't feel safe. We didn't really know how protected our information was. So there were the other ways to monetize things were alternative billing solutions. And at Twistbox, the big one was mobile billing. This was a way to directly collect money for a subscription or a service or a product, and pay directly to your mobile carrier. And the mobile carrier and Twistbox had the partnership, and so when I paid for my mobile content, the mobile carrier, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whoever, would pay me a cut, and that was it. And it was really easy. It was usually 1 or 2 clicks and you're paid, and it was the easiest way to collect money and consume content, and especially when it's for an impulse buy, like some sort of adult content, gambling. You don't want to give them too much time to pay. Anyways, that was where the business really stemmed. Like, okay, we've got this figured out. And from around 2006, 2007, all the way to 2011, 2012, this was big business. And this is where I was completely sort of entrenched in everything mobile billing. And, the smart devices were exploding, everything Android, iPhone, anything with a touchscreen that was smaller than your computer, we were working with and creating content and the whole nine. So what happens is, now that cell phones and all those things are taking over the desktop space, essentially, now we know that we're getting more traffic on mobile than we are on desktop. People are using their apps and consuming adult content and everything else under the sun more so from a device than from a handheld device than a desktop. So this means it needs to be more regulated. So the mobile carriers and the governments and everybody are getting involved in making sure that it's not so easy to consume that content anymore. When you're looking at things like adults on your phone, and it's just as easy to, you just click one button, then any kid can say, yes, I'm 18, give me porn, and it's done, right? And of course, this doesn't have anything to do with a lot of the the free porn and adult content that's been all over the place. That's kind of a separate discussion. But what we're paying for on these mobile devices. So by around that time, 2012, the company I was with, this was the first version of Twistbox, we'll say, because we'd gone through quite a bit of changes, and because of all these regulations, Twistbox essentially ceased to exist, or just wasn't really working anymore. We'd gone from a huge amount of staff and money to virtually none. And I ended up working with another company based in Paris. This was now we're getting about 2011, 2012, a company called Wister, who had really sort of cornered the French market for the exact same thing I was doing with Twistbox in terms of mobile billing, products, and that kind of thing. And because now I've got what would be considered pretty extensive experience in the mobile space and the mobile billing space specifically, it's probably safe to say that I was sort of a desirable catch, for companies like Wister, where I could not only help manage the monetization aspects of these things, but I could also grow them out of France into more regions. I had a pretty strong network of connections to kind of help things move and shake a little better and faster than they were able to do. So that started probably when you say, I know a lot of people and a lot of people know me, and the recognition and sort of those types of things started kicking in. It probably really started with Wister. This company, we started doing so well and becoming so cash rich so fast that it sort of exploded into this really cool marketing machine, right? We knew that the strategy here was not only to get our our services and our products into more countries, which we did, but we needed the traffic. And we needed, so that's where the affiliate program came in, and we had A Fill for You, which is the brand I think most people know.
Sure.
And so I sort of became the face of the A Fill for You brand, where it was simply my job to get out there and get the traffic. We knew now that we had sort of perfected a way to monetize it, at least at the time, the most effectively and efficiently as possible. And now we needed the affiliates. We needed the people to start throwing traffic our way, and we were going to clean up, and we did. And that's exactly what happened. Every bit of traffic we could get, we monetized it the best way possible. And we had a really great run for several years. And that's where all the interesting things, the trade shows and those types of things really do have a powerful impact on not only, the brand strength, but really finding all that new business, which has changed quite a bit as of late because the models are changing, the regulations are changing, but
of course,
and that's a whole other thing. But, where are we now? So that was then. So right around 2016, another, huge sort of regulation, a shift kind of came. And that was because our, the affiliates are getting smarter, but with that came sort of more devious things. And so the affiliates, a lot of them, not all of them, but quite a few, found ways to, fudge the system a bit. And, every time regulation changes came, which at this point they were coming almost every 3 months from different carriers in different countries, affiliates were finding smart ways to work around them so that some of those roadblocks for them were non-existent in certain cases. And it became, for me and my team for that matter, a constant struggle, because every time regulations and compliance, those rules are broken, we don't just get a slap on the wrist, we get, hundreds of thousands of dollars of fines.
Shit.
And so when you're spending now the better part of your days, fighting fraud, visiting governments, trying to, plead your case that this wasn't me, this was some guy in his bedroom, doing funny things with his traffic. It became more about that and less about just doing my job and making money.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so that's it. So, it again, and it was another one of the things similar to the sort of the twist box thing. It's, another 4 or 5 years goes by and it's looking tough. A lot of the businesses in the mobile billing space are starting to close their doors or shrink to almost nothing. And that was happening with Wister as well. So I felt it was time to start looking. Since I'd been through this already, I had to kind of plan ahead. I knew where this was going.
Sure, everything has a run, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And this was great, and I'm happy to say that the Wister team is kicking ass right now, and things really actually worked out really well for them. But we'll save that for another story. But it all went well. But I knew that there was when it was time for me to leave Wister, there was a couple of ways I needed to look at this. And one was, do I just go find another sort of whatever the hot thing is right now and try to ride that wave for another 4 or 5 years until it's time for me to, make another move? Or do I kind of look for something where there's a real long-term potential? And the reason NMS made sense to me when I started talking to Martin about working with new media services. The one thing that always made sense is, from the service provider side of things, right? When you talk about the gold rush, it wasn't the people who found the gold who were making all the money. It was the hotels who brought them there. It was the trains who brought them there to the gold rush. It was the service providers. And that's kind of...
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So this is what what new media services was a way to know that no matter what, our job was just to always provide what people needed. As long as we stayed on top of what those demands were, and we kept, our thumb on the pulse of the network we were a part of in terms of digital media and both mainstream and adult. then we would be able to find a way to always give them what they needed. And in where we are now as an outsourcing company and I think calling ourselves an outsourcing company is just a really sort of dumbed down way to bundle up all the things that we do. Yeah. But it is like what you said in our description earlier, we're this sort of group of people who will tailor make solutions to best suit your business needs. And in this world now where we're full of startup companies, and even just some of the medium level companies who can't quite get past that certain point of growth, they need that extra set of eyes, ears, and hands and minds to kind of help push them forward, and at better rates and the whole nine. It's outsourcing, right? A lot of people do this simply because it's budget friendly, but we wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, that's it. So here we are now, going on 4 years with New Media Services, and for once, here 4 years have gone by, and I don't feel like our business is being threatened by anything. Things haven't slowed down at all. It's only sped up. It just keeps getting better because, without tooting my horn, I mean, I was right. This was the right place to be. This is, with the way the world changes and grows and shifts, we strategically put ourselves in a position to kind of facilitate that. And that's the best thing you can do. So yeah, I think I pretty much covered it all in terms of my career, but that's kind of what brought me here.
Okay. And you kind of covered some of this, but what benefits? Why should somebody come and work with New Media Services now?
Well, yeah, I think it comes down to a few things, depending on, if you're local staff in the Philippines, for me, the obvious reason is the growth potential. We have this sort of mentality of making sure we take care of our people, not just by doing the things we're supposed to do, but going beyond that. So providing that facility now, that building, but we pay better than everybody. We look after you. We help with, they have kids who need school education. They need extra vehicles. We have a bunch of company cars. We provide transportation for all of our employees. We have our own buses and vans that will take you to and from work. We try to really go above and beyond what's needed, and for a lot of reasons. One, this now means there's no reason for you not to come to work. We've got you covered.
Correct.
And we created this sort of family thing. So that's the local staff are given all the things that are not commonly given in a place like the Philippines. So they feel that they want to work there. They don't want to leave. So our turnover is really low, considering we have over 1,000 staff. It's shockingly low.
That's good.
And then, it's great. And then outside of that, it's always been this sort of, it's really neat with this company because of the way we have to be so malleable in what we do. It really lets you be creative. I had come in to the company with one sort of idea of what I was going to do and what I was meant to bring to the table, and it's changed a lot for the better. Where I realized, so we've got so much resources available to us that every time I have a stupid idea, we can try it. That's insane. And so
that's awesome.
And that's what. It is awesome. And what Martin and I would do, and for that matter, anybody who joins the team from not just locally, but, we have international staff all over Europe and America. These guys, they say, okay, well, I just had a dumb idea for an app. I had a dumb idea for a website. I have an idea for this and that. And, okay, well, we've got the resources to do it. If it's, we're not going to make it a priority unless we can back it up with something, but we'll check it out. And a lot of time, 9 out of 10 times they're bad ideas. They don't go anywhere, but we always,
there's always that one, right?
And if you do that enough times, which we do hundreds of times a year, just dumb ideas all day long, they stick. And so, that's kind of where it's gone. And that's what I love about this company, to be able to have sort of that freedom to throw stuff out there and the ability to exercise it. And when we say no idea is a bad idea, we actually mean it, which is
that's cool. Well, it seems like it comes from the top. Martin seems like very special guy.
Yeah, he is, and I think he had always sort of made sure of that along the way, that he was able to provide that sort of environment and that comfort level. This wasn't something that just came when there was enough money to do it. It was always this way. Everybody really felt like they were a part of this, even when there weren't two pennies to rub together. So it's been really cool.
And we talked about this a little bit before the call, but how's the virus treating you, Joey?
The virus. What virus? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I thought, maybe we'll just skip that, but part of life, right?
It is interesting. Well, I'll tell you why. So we don't have to get too deep into it, but if the focus of this conversation is meant to kind of circle back to what we do, it actually is kind of interesting. This will give you some insight on what I think is going on in our world right now. So, me personally, I work from home anyways, so this isn't a huge stretch to be stuck at home doing things like this. Like I said, the big difference. Yeah. The big difference is just having the kids home and doing the homeschooling and trying to kind of rework our day-to-days a little bit. But so it's not having, thankfully, a tremendous effect on us. And I kind of have been doing my best to step back and look at it like, well, if this is what has to happen right now, at least I'm here at home with my kids all the time. There's a lot of things and a lot of time with and experiences that I'm getting with them that I never would have had. And they're young, 3, 6, and 8. So this is a time that really, this sort of developmental ages that are a big deal.
It's a rare opportunity as a parent, I think.
Oh, I mean, absolutely it is. No question. And so, I'm trying to keep that sort of positive spin on it as well, because more often than not, it's challenging. So as far as that goes, that's, where we stand at home with the virus. But interestingly enough, when the quarantine started going into like a full global effect, of course we were all worried, and we've got this brand new office that just opened not a few months ago. And we're thinking, holy shit, nobody's going to use the office, this great piece of work we built, and now it's going to be empty for the rest of the year. This is crazy. And so aside from the fact that did happen, now the office has been closed for, I think, almost 6 weeks or something like that, 5-6 weeks. What ended up happening was business started booming, and I'll explain why. I don't think we got into it too much, but one of our biggest sort of items on the menu is our chat services. I know you mentioned it when you were describing the company earlier, but we do, support services, customer support, as a lot of outsourcing sort of call center operations do. And we also do a chat service. And a lot of times this is on social media or dating sites. You will have companies like mine engage with the users to kind of get members of the sites just a little more active while the sites are establishing themselves. So I
get it. Yeah.
Right. So that type of thing, what's happening now is, I guess while people are stuck at home, they're spending a lot of time in these chat environments, through social media, through, you might be in an online gambling, online poker room, and there's these little chat rooms in there where people are engaging more, and we help facilitate a lot of those chats. When those rooms go quiet or things are getting boring, we'll jump in and say, hey guys, what's going on? Whatever. So these chat services are really valuable to online businesses, because keeping people interested and engaged is what it's all about. And it just blew up. It has completely blown up. Some of our biggest clients are the dating sites. And I'm hearing, I don't know how long this lasts. Eventually people who are at home, especially the ones losing their jobs, aren't going to be able to afford these subscriptions for much longer. But
Correct.
This first month and a half, 2 months has been awesome for us.
That's
I know
that's
it's
great.
been difficult for a lot of people. Yeah, but we've been really lucky. So while we're working at home, our business has gone up nearly, I think, 15%. And
Wow.
it's a total reflection of what's happening in the dating and online engagement industries. So yeah, it's the virus in that regard for us has been, I don't like to say it's a good thing, but it has definitely made the business better.
Hey, somebody's making money on it at least. It might as well be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the circumstances are weird, and I don't, I want this to stop tomorrow.
Well, nobody wants to profit from it, but at the very least, at least it's good for somebody, which is good.
Yeah.
So, business is good here too, so that's a good thing.
Good.
Well, Joey, it's always a pleasure. I always enjoy talking to you, whether it be in person at a show or on Skype or whatever. But
likewise.
I'd like to thank you so much for being on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope to get you back for a future show. Thanks again.
Bruce, thank you very much. And for everybody listening out there, I go back many years with Bruce. I have a feeling this show is actually going to be awesome. He is not only a great talker, but one of the smarter guys I've been lucky enough to sit and chat with. I always pick up little pearls of wisdom from Bruce whenever I get the chance. So I encourage everybody, keep listening. And thank you again, Bruce. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, my brother. My broker tip today is part 2 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Keep your website design up to date. Do a redesign from time to time. People will tend to think your site is the same as ever and click out of it without even looking if something doesn't change. So keep it fresh and up to date. Times change, so should your website. Look at what your competitors are doing and see what it is that you really like. Emulate success. If you know a site to be particularly successful, look at what it is they're doing and do some of the same things. I'm not saying copy it. I'm just suggesting you improve your site by looking around a bit. You've got to keep up with the times or you'll end up being left behind. Also, keep an eye on your competition and make sure you're offering everything on your site that they are and more. Don't just look at their design, but make sure your offers are good and you're competitive. The same goes for your content. Do you ever wonder why one site does well and others don't? Check out the competition's content. What are they doing that you're not doing? Be willing to make changes. People can't understand why they're losing sales to a competitor, yet the competitor is clearly doing everything better. Emulate success. Make sure everything on your website works well. Make sure all of your links work properly. Check them on a regular basis. If things don't work, you're going to lose customers. People are not patient these days. People's attention spans are like that of a gnat. They click out immediately and go on to the next result in Google if they don't find what they're looking for, if the site is hard to navigate, or if things don't work. Check all of your internal scripts and plugins and make sure they're updated regularly as well. We'll talk more about this subject next week. And next week, we'll be talking to Holly Rupert of Playboy. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Joey Gabra. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.